Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate. This is our Star Wars Unlimited episode. And tonight we have episode 46. We're going to talk about the Beatdown, what it is, why you should be concerned with it, as well as we're going to look at Jump to Light Speed, and we're going to look at a pre-release analysis that Alex has kind of put together for us, so you know what cards to draft and use going into next weekend's pre-release. Just a quick reminder, if you have not, hit that subscribe button right here on the channel. You're welcome to hit it. Make sure you get all the updates for all of the new content that we have coming out. Last week, we released a Piat deck tech. Don't know if you saw it or not, but hey, you're welcome to go check it out. And I'll have another deck tech or two this week as well. With that being said, let me bring in my co-host for the evening. Please welcome the bench warmer himself, Mr. Alex. How are you tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. I think at least I did, basically wrapped up the store showdowns this season. I had one yesterday, tried to defend my set 2 store champ at that store. That's further away, made top 4, so.
Neat.
But, my buddy won it with a Cat Darkentown. He beat me in top 4. A little bit rough.
What did you run?
Oh, I just went with the Pal Tarkentown. I haven't really, I didn't put that week. I didn't do any effort to building a deck, and that was the only one I had left. I deconstructed all the other ones, so still such a fun, wild deck.
It is very crazy. Also joining me is JJ, wannabe Giants fan. How are you tonight, sir?
Kind of sad that we couldn't get Matt Stafford, unfortunately. It is what it is, but we'll try our hand in the draft. But yeah, no, excited for next week's pre-release, man. This is a set that I'm really, really looking forward to. There was a ton of cards that were just dumped for spoilers over this past week, and there were a lot of great name ships. Something I've been wanting to see in stuff like X-Wing and Armada, and finally seeing them in a card gives me hope for somehow down the line we'll see those ships in a miniature form. But yeah, just really, really excited for this next set that's going to come out.
Awesome. Yeah, and my weekend was pretty decent. It was my daughter's birthday this weekend, so yesterday we didn't do a lot. I spent some time building some newer decks. Didn't get to play much because it was her birthday, and then she had a birthday party at a roller skating rink, so that was super fun. A bunch of teenagers at a roller skating rink, but we got some good pizza out of it. How about that? They let you bring in your own food, so win-win
Nice.
for me. But yeah, today was her actual birthday, so then we had to do Subway, which is her favorite restaurant for whatever reason. I don't understand why.
That's real tragic.
Yep. So we had Subway for lunch, and I got to remember the jalapenos on their subs are just not worth it. To get on there, I get them, and then I always regret it, and they don't even taste that spicy. So I just gotta stop eating those stupid jalapenos from Subway every time. But other than that, it was a great weekend. I actually have one more store showdown to go to tomorrow that they just happen to have the kit left over, and it's a regular play day, and they only want to charge $10. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it because I think it will be fun. I think that'll be a fun time.
You're gonna bring the Palpatine?
I am gonna play either Palpatine or Han, one of the two, because those are the only two decks I have built right now. I have a Green Hondo deck built though. I could play that.
Palpatine's so much more fun. Palpatine's so wild.
But yeah, those are the only ones I have left. Is really just the Palpatine and the blue Han that I had built. I guess I have a yellow Asajj that my nephew built the other day, and I don't know if I want to play that because I've never played Asajj. So, but yeah, I have a store showdown. I'm gonna go to it tomorrow. It's $10. It's $5 more than what we normally get. You get a pack no matter what. Not that I need any more promo cards, but I guess I'll take them. So it'll be fun times for it. With that being said, what I wanted to do to open up was I wanted to go through our leader early way 2 predictions that we had, because we got to declare a winner. So last time, I don't remember who was the winner last time. I think it was Alex, actually.
I believe it was.
Yeah. Even when we had to give JJ some crazy points for some of that. So this time we did this a little too late, so there were some leaders already revealed. So anything in blue was already revealed. We did not guess those. Those were revealed, though. I would say JJ and I both would have 100% had guessed Thrawn if that had been a choice. So like,
yeah,
we would have guessed that, but we were not able to. So, so anything in blue does not have. So Alex correctly guessed Vader and Phasma and Trench, which is hilarious because both JJ and I had Trench last set and didn't even think it would come out this set, and that was dumb of us. Alex also had Luke, Poe, and Kaz. And so it looks like, so I think we assigned 3 points for green. So Alex is a total of 6 points plus 1 point for each of the yellows. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you came out to 10 points total in your predictions. Pretty good. JJ, JJ guessed Rose correctly. So, but it's not in the right color. So you guessed she was red. She's actually blue.
Blue. Yeah.
So that's actually, so JJ gets 1 point. 1 point for JJ. Though maybe, I'll give you the 3 points because I'll tell you what, like, I don't think any of us saw Rose coming. So, we'll give you 3 points for Rose. And then you also guessed Poe. So you get 1 point for Poe. I had Von Reg and Phasma correct. I had also somehow guessed Holdo correctly in the right color too. And then we had Kaz and Poe. So I came out with 9, 10, 11 points. So I squeak by Alex by 1 point this set. Next time we got to start putting something on the line. That's what we got to do. Maybe we'll get like a custom cards made or something. That would be kind of fun. Like fake showcases that says you are the winner. Or maybe we'll get a belt. Stan Azuski tells me belts are the way to go for everything. So.
Yes.
Anyway, so that's our little bit of fun that we get to have. Nothing too crazy. We don't have a lot for news and spoilers. We are not going to cover the release of all those other cards per se. I don't care enough. We also had a error, a whoopsie, in our recording. Somehow my audio for Alex was gone for about half of it. So all of the legendary stuff that we had that we covered last week, we don't have that audio anymore. I didn't have the time to go back and re-record it. So for now, we're just going to call the spoilers complete and move on.
So tragic. So many cool things.
Yeah, say that again.
Know my secrets.
Yeah, Chris had so many hot takes, ladies and gentlemen. You wouldn't believe the things Chris said, man. Jeez.
I still have the audio for me and you, JJ. It just sounds dumb because it'll like halfway through you can hear me going, ugh. Oh, like I'm gonna interrupt Alex, and then like I don't interrupt Alex, and then like, but you can hear it. You can hear all my sighs is what you can hear. So, anyway, for just to kind of go over, these are some of the spoilers that we got for the showcases. I think they said this was 9 boxes worth of the carbonite packs.
Yeah, just the casual $2,700.
Yeah. So, there you go. I don't even know, like, if you think about it, even if these all came out to $300 a piece, these showcases, you're gonna get what, $600, $1,200, $1,800. You don't even get your money back in showcases. So hopefully their numbered cards really like make them money, because $2,700 is just an insane amount of money to drop in. I don't have that kind of money. But it is nice, so you can kind of see the Thrawn in there. Not as cartoonish, more non-cartoonish. And you can see Vader. Vader is crazy. And then I like the Phasma one. I will tell you right now, that Phasma one looks pretty dope. Here's the new Boba Fett one. I don't know. I'm not super excited by the Boba Fett one.
I think it looks cool.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's
completely
serviceable.
serviceable.
It's not spectacular, but it looks good.
It looks like a counterpart to Han Solo.
There you go.
That's all it looks like. It's just like, well, Han Solo's in a cockpit. We'll put Boba Fett in a cockpit.
Yep. Then we have Admiral Akbar, which this is going to be what I would consider the Padme showcase of this set. Like, This is ugly. How did they? That doesn't even look like Akbar, does it?
No, that's exactly what I was gonna say. He actually looks like the Prince from Clone Wars.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. Yeah.
So many people have posted a picture of him as if he's riding a scooter, and that is 100% all I can see from now on. It's just he's on a pogo stick or on a razor scooter.
Yep. This is going to be the showcase Alex gets 2 of somehow.
Yep. Every time. Can't wait. It would be cool, Akbar. I'll trade that for a prestige pack. Probably get something better.
Yeah. And then here's the Vader one up close. I do like the Vader one, but he's also in a cockpit because I guess that's just what we're going to do.
Sounds for this set.
I will tell you this Admiral Trench one. I am hot to trot about that Admiral Trench one. If you get Admiral Trench and I get a showcase and you would like to trade, I will trade you for this. Unless I get a Vader, because I'll probably play Vader. So, excuse me.
The Wedge looks a little kind of sad. It
looks like a baby.
It looks like Speed Racer,
yeah.
But that's probably not what they're trying to go for. I don't know, it doesn't have any personality. It's just Wedge looking dead on to the person holding the card.
For me, Han Solo is what makes me laugh because they drew him like a Disney character, like he belongs on Enchanted or something like that. Just the goofiness on his face.
I just don't think this game could have a decent a normal looking Han Solo art, right? I love it.
And then we have a couple of the prestige cards. I will tell you right now, this Executor looks amazing. I don't care. The card will never probably get play, but if I am planning on buying at least one prestige pack. I don't know if I'm going to spring for a whole box. I probably will, but I probably will because it'll be I won't be able to help myself to do it. But man, that Executor just looks totes my goats. I love that. We also got the reveal mats for the qualifiers, which has it on there. I don't know, I'm excited for that mat, and you get it just for entering. It's just the participation prize. So, I don't know. I am super excited about that. I don't like that it has a big regional qualifier participant at the bottom of it, but that. Yeah. That ship, because you can kind of see where it's where the Star Destroyer is like the inner guts of it, in between.
They're so cool. I just love big stupid ships.
Yeah. And then they have a Ray mat, a Plo mat, then there was 2 of them mat, which I would like to get, and then they have a C-3PO mat,
the airlock,
in space. So I don't know, I guess it's cool looking. It's silly. I don't know if I care for that one or not. So I don't know if you're going to any of these regionals. You'll be super excited about getting your VIP prizes if you did choose the VIP. I bought the VIP, so I have an extra mat if anybody would like to purchase a mat off me for whatever the going rate is. So, because essentially you get a Poe Dameron mat and then the entry section qualifier mat. So, I don't know. If anybody I don't need mats. I did buy a mat organizer, though, by the way, that I'm going to be hanging up right behind me that'll have all my mats rolled up so that way I own that many mats now. So,
damn, dude.
Yeah. They also have the BB-8 one. That's actually really cool. I would like that mat as well. So, anyway, those are kind of the mats. That's kind of where we're at. It's kind of a cool thing. I am excited that we're seeing OP ramp up. We talked a little bit about rotation the other week. I think everything is just kind of panning out. Some of the prize wells are going to be really good. If you don't have your ticket to Worlds, you should definitely buy it now if you want to go, because they said they announced they were close to selling out, which is just crazy to me that they've done that. So I don't know if either of you guys are going, but if you want to go, you should get your tickets now. And if you guys want to support the podcast and send JJ or Alex to Las Vegas, you can join our Patreon. Donate to the Patreon. I don't know. Alex will get up and do. Alex will do a little song, a specialized song for you if you donate to the Patreon. So
It's just putting on the Ritz from Young Frankenstein. That'd be fantastic.
all right. What if they want you to do a little jig too? You gonna do the little jig to go with it?
Can my body physically do a jig? I could try.
Okay, I don't know. I have no idea. I've never seen you dance before, my friend.
I don't know, man. I'm never gonna dance again.
All right, well, let's get into some pre-release stuff. I'm super excited for this weekend. I really want to talk a little bit about two different things. So Alex has a guide that we're going to go through in a few minutes, as well as I want to talk about determining who is the beatdown. So welcome to our Academy training segment. All right, welcome to our Academy training this week. We are going to be talking about determining who the beatdown is in a match. So if you don't know what the beatdown is, we're going to talk about it. So before we get into it, though, Alex, JJ, have either of you guys ever heard about what the beatdown is?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that I've heard back when I played Magic early in my days, just based on the type of matchup they end up having. Turns out I usually am the beatdown player, but yeah, it's a good thing to know when you're assessing your matchups for whatever match you're going to play.
Yeah, I've also heard this. Actually, people were trying to take this concept and apply it to X-Wing, and that's kind of where I first heard it because I haven't played card games before, right? So, it's a pretty straightforward, I think, discussion. Always relevant.
Fair enough. So we move on. The definition of the beatdown is essentially it's a term that's used. I've only heard it in TCGs. I didn't know people actually said that in X-Wing because, like, in X-Wing, for the most part, I guess I've never thought of it in those terms.
It kind of just devolved into which list jousts better.
Okay, fair enough then. I guess
But,
I can see that.
Like, you have to use that applicable to if your list is better at jousting than anyone else's list.
So essentially, the beatdown is a term that is used to determine which player should be the aggressor and which one is the defender in specific matchup. Now, the one thing that I will say is this is not just an aggro versus control versus mid-range discussion, right? Like, that's way too narrow. You could be an aggro deck and go against another aggro deck, and somebody has to be the beatdown and somebody has to be the control. So your beatdown role is essentially you are the aggressor. You're trying to close out the game faster than the other person. Whereas if you're the control deck, you want to buy time, stabilize, take back ascendancy, that type of a thing. But the big thing to understand is it's not about specifically which deck style you're playing, though that does play into it a little bit. It's mainly about understanding, hey, I need to know whether I need to be aggressive in this situation or not. And so I'll take JJ, for example, when we were running Thrawn decks, right? Like, does Thrawn ever get to be the aggressor? Well, if you don't have a deck built to be the aggressor, you're not. But if you're going to fly against or you're going to play against a Iden Blue deck who's like hard control and you're not a hard control deck, somebody's got to be that aggressor in that situation. And so being able to understand and identify your beatdown is going to help. It's going to help you in competitive gameplay. But the big thing is, and the real reason I wanted to talk about it was because we've got all these new pilots coming out, right? And with these new pilots, you got to figure out when you're playing against your opponent who has a different pool of cards than you, whether you're supposed to be the beatdown or they are supposed to. And we're not going to go into any new pilot examples for I have some examples that we're going to identify here in a few minutes. But we're not going to go over, like, I didn't put any new pilots outside of set 1 through 3 because what I have not done is spend a lot of time playing them. And then this is your launching point into our next segment where we're going to actually talk about a sealed guide of which leaders Alex thinks is better than the other leaders. And that, like, gets into a lot more of the, understanding how that leader plays and if it's good without card pools or with card pools, right? So this is your the base understanding of what a beatdown is do you want to be the aggressor? Do you want to be the control? And I think one of the ways to actually understand or determine that is which deck will have inevitability. So inevitability essentially means if you had no health, if there was no health total, so we just play against each other. So, and Alex gave an example, I think a couple weeks ago about a Boba Fett deck where you did, I don't know, like 44 or 50 damage or something like that in a game.
400.
400. Thank you. Even crazier. 400 damage in one game, right? And that, like, what's the inevitability? Well, in Alex's case, he essentially is going to be able to outvalue with that deck and outcard any opponent he's playing. That's an AI. Because I think you were playing AI, weren't you?
Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah. It was more of a proof of concept of how much damage this can actually output as opposed to anything challenging by any means.
Exactly. So in the means of understanding the inevitability, right, is you have to know, can you outvalue your opponent? So Alex, I don't know, like, this is kind of a good question. Like, when you sit down across from your opponent, are you looking at, do you have better cards? What do you specifically look at to begin with, like, in terms of your deck versus what you feel they're probably running?
So, I mean, a lot of it has to deal with my deck, right? If I'm playing something like Palpatine, I almost always are going to be not the Beatdown. If I'm playing something like Sabine Red, I am almost always trying to be the Beatdown. Mid-range is what makes that more difficult. So really, it kind of looks... I look at my opponent's like choices and kind of extrapolate, like, hey, they're playing Iden. It's probably not an aggro deck. They're probably going to look to control a lot more. I don't want to get into an endgame against that. Let me try to, pedal to the metal as fast as I can. Other times it's like, it gets pretty iffy, right? Like, Justin was running like yellow Obi-Wan, right? It's like really mid-range. And, when we were playing that, it's like, well, if we're going against aggro, we want to control because our deck isn't as fast as theirs, but we also don't want to reach like an end game into like a green or red villainy where it's just like, cool, we have some options, but we don't have a lot of answers to like a Devastator, or like a Great Dragon or something like that. So it's all about trying to identify, what likely is your opponent playing. Like, I guess you can have a Sabine deck that isn't straight aggro, and that would throw people off, but I'm not sure the effectiveness of that.
Yeah.
So you can like kind of hedge your bets on like, well, they're probably playing something more like this. I mean, like a Vader Red, it gets a little bit weird because that tends to lean more towards aggro, but it's also Vader who doesn't lend himself to aggro. So if you find anything weird, that gets a little bit hard, but I guess that's what the sideboard in game 2 and 3 are for, right?
Exactly. So kind of the next point is are you more concerned with resource generation or back and forth of board state? And kind of what Alex is saying, resource generation does not just mean how many resources you can put down, right? Like, that's definitely not what we care as much about. What you want to do is, do you have good units? So in Alex's analogy, he's saying, well, I don't have a 10 cost Devastator I'm playing because I don't have that cool of a card in my deck. And we don't have those kind of bombs in Hero that, well, okay, we traditionally did not have those kind of bombs in Hero until very recently. So like, that was just not a thing. Like, a lot of Hero tended to run that mid-range, and they had to become the Beatdown if they were playing against control decks. And Han's a great example. Han 1 is one of the best examples because Han 1 specifically says, hey, I'm going to come in here and outvalue you because I could play a card above resource curve, and you can't do as much about it unless you're a control deck. And so then when you're playing against a control deck, you have to completely shift and you have to become the aggro player. So whereas Sempo is kind of like the board state. So when you talk about those two axes, that's where you got to say, hey, which is my deck better at? Is my deck better at putting out better cards, being able to ramp into my better cards? Is my deck better at being able to trade equally or above curve or flooding the board, right? That Quinlan deck I ran was like so low to the ground it wasn't even funny. Like that stupid thing. Like you just stick out 2-3 cards in a turn if you had the cards. And with Smuggle, it allowed you to do all sorts of crazy things, you know, because you're bringing out extra cards that you normally wouldn't have because they're not in your hand. Smuggle is like, I don't care what anybody says. Set 2 Smuggle aspect, hands down, was one of the best enhancements to this game, and it changes the momentum of how this game was played drastically. And I love it personally. The last point is, and then we'll kind of get into some examples, is understanding that sometimes it's based on your card draw, and if we can switch plans if we really have to, right? So if you end up drawing more control, you might have to play a non-beatdown format until you get your damn beatdown cards, right? like what are you going to do if you don't draw them? And, you know, JJ, for example, JJ, when he runs his IG 88 deck, right? If JJ doesn't draw a bunch of low-end units, JJ doesn't get to use IG88's ability. So he has to switch how he plays that in an effort to move towards controlling the board until he can flood it with his own options. So I don't know, what was the highest cost unit you played in that IG88?
In the IG list, I think my highest cost unit was actually Wrecker at a 6. And then beyond that, everything else was less than that because I wanted to have.
Why were you running Wrecker in your IG88 list?
It's just a big damage part. Like when you dump it, being able to dump a bunch of damage on it, even if you're paying, you know, that additional resource for it. You know, just having that big splash damage, especially if somebody's like guarded up with Sentinel, being able to clear the wave to allow the rest of your units to go and hit the base with IG's ability. It's a really useful piece in that particular deck.
Awesome. So let's get into some examples. And so we're going to let you guys kind of determine. So if I'm playing Quinlan versus Sabine, who's going to be the beatdown in that situation? And who's going to be more the control deck?
I'll start off with this one. So traditionally, I think Sabine is usually more the beatdown character. Sabine has the greater duty to try to end the game as quickly as possible. So she will attack as much as possible into Quinlan's base before Quinlan can start eliminating her units. And because of that, it does create a bit of a time crunch because Quinlan can play a lot more defensively than Sabine can in terms of controlling the health of her units that can do damage to his base. And once Sabine runs out of steam, then Quinlan can take its time to start destroying Sabine's base on their own, especially if Sabine uses her own ability onto her own base there. So I think in this particular matchup here, I think Sabine would be that beatdown character.
Alex?
Yeah, I mean, especially because she pings your base, so like pretty much always going to be, not always, but like a lot of it is the beatdown. Oh, that's kind of interesting because I feel like Sabine might actually be able to control Quinlan more than Quinlan can control Sabine. That's just kind of a strange matchup and just kind of a typical like benefit you have of running ECL with like Pose and Wreckers, so that you can extend into the mid game to continue applying the pressure. Where Quinlan floods the board for sure, can do some work, also has some higher costing units, but not as efficient as like Sabine. So my assumption is that Sabine would probably be the beatdown in that matchup.
Yeah, and I would say traditionally, I think you're correct, especially like Quinlan Red is going to control you until you get to the... Traditionally, Quinlan Red is going to be the control in that matchup, right? He's going to want to control your hand. He has ability to do all sorts of stuff with the Tarkin Town that you don't have with Sabine. But I will say, I think Sabine can be the control, like you were saying, Alex. If you have a Quinlan that is going to be like the green version, Sabine can control that a little bit easier and needs to control that because if Quinlan gets Huang out, a General's Blade on Quinlan, it's like if you don't get your Darksaber or your General's Blade on Sabine, now you're kind of stuck with it.
I mean, that's what Sabine players had to do against me when I was running Kylo.
Yep.
Or it's just like, my deck is just actually much faster, but if you start killing any of these units, it fails.
All right. The next one we have is Django versus Kylo. And I think the Kylo can be whatever, because I think Kylo really only has one style of play, no matter which way you look at it. Django, we're going to talk about Django Tarkintown, because I don't feel the need to discuss Django Green at this current time. We know if it was a green deck, it's 100% the control against Kylo. But Alex, what do you feel about Django versus Kylo?
I think it's also another kind of a weird case because Django natively has like control kind of built into him, but also tends to, like the Django Tarkentown decks you see, tend to be pretty aggro. But Kylo, kind of like what you were saying, there's some other things you can do with Kylo. It gets a little bit weird if you're trying to do like a blue-red control force-based Kylo. It exists, but that's kind of way out there. Kylo is almost always just like straight aggro, try to do as much, be it like red or yellow. But Django is better at controlling. Like I think Kylo has to be the beatdown, but Django has a lot of the tools
To do that.
end a lot of aggro decks.
Yeah. I would say in this matchup, I agree with you. Traditionally, I think Django is that control piece, and Kylo gets to be the beatdown. All right, let's move on to the next one. We have a Luke versus Bosk, and like, okay, so I know there's different versions of Bosk. So JJ, I'll let you start this one off. Which do you think is the beatdown in this case?
This one is kind of tough, right? Because both have different types of builds that can kind of adjust to each other, right? Just depending on the situation for it. I would probably think that just because of the nature of Boss's ability to put on bounties onto his opponents, he's more likely going to be the beatdown character just to take advantage of those particular bounties, because you want to get in and deal damage. And if your opponent ends up putting out units, sentinel units specifically, that you're going to end up taking out and taking advantage with those bounties, Bosk will be aggressive to take those there. And it also helps just depending on what type of bounties you're putting on there, specifically anything that can regen. You can also make Bosk kind of force your opponent to be more of the beatdown at that point, right? Because you're regenerating. So it's kind of a toss-up. I think what it comes down to ultimately is the sideboard on this, on both sides, mainly because you can have additional pieces that you can put into your deck that can make you more aggressive if you're feeling that your opponent is being way too defensive, and it'll enable you to be more of a beatdown type player for this particular matchup. But I'm still thinking that Bosk will be more of a beatdown type deck versus Luke.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird, right? Because like a Bosk blue is very hard control. That's almost always going to be in control. Yeah. There's very few matchups I can think of where it becomes the beatdown.
Yeah.
So that's pretty straightforward. But the weird thing is like green Bosk, because then that is like you're ramping. So you don't want a lot of aggro to go into you, but you're not doing much to control it. Instead, you're just dropping bigger units that can deal with the board presence. But Luke himself, you don't really... I can't think of like an aggro Luke build. And like Blue Hero, it, doesn't really lend itself to aggro. And you can do some control. Like you can go later on with Blue Hero because you have a lot of restore, and blue itself naturally lends to control. But I think if it's like a Bosk blue or anything, I think that's still going to control Luke regardless. It's just a little bit weird because, again, like green Bosk kind of throws a wrench into a lot of the calculations because you're just like, that one's really hard to... It almost depends more on what they're capable of generating themselves than the interaction you get with them. Because
I think it goes
not hitting a lot of ramp, like, what are they going to do?
Yeah. I think it has what's in your hand, right? Like if you have stuff in your hand that allows you to get a bigger card draw, Like that's what it depends on. So
Yeah.
All right, the
Always
next one.
waylay your own stuff that's got bounties on there. They never see it coming.
They hate,
It
they hate
ruins
that.
their life.
Yeah, they hate that. All right, the next one is Han 1 versus Anakin. Who's the beatdown in this one, Alex?
Oh man, I do not know. So I'm assuming it's probably like a typical like bluish Anakin and probably like a mono yellow Han, right? That is typically what you see. Occasionally, you'll get different colors Hans, different color Anakins. Anakin is such a great mid-range kind of leader because his units swing higher than they typically do, and that lets you control really well for anything. And then Han, he can go fast because he is dropping bigger units earlier with his ability, but also he controls super, super well, especially like mono yellow, where it's a lot of exhaust, a lot of bounce. So this kind of matchup, you'd probably want Anakin to go as fast as you can against Yellow Han, but Yellow Han is able to control super, super well, so it probably doesn't work too well. not that like that's the discussion, but I think against a Han like that, you have to try to go as fast as you can. But they do have a lot of good tools to go against aggro, but do fail against control, so that's a nice cyclical kind of thing.
Yeah, see, I think I feel in that situation, if I'm a Yellow Han player, I'm the beatdown in that situation because I can outperform you because of the fact that I can waylay, I can play another card in the same turn, I can use cunning to spike damage very aggressively, and I can get my Han out typically at least one churn before Anakin, no matter what. And by that time, I now can play a Han that just kills Anakin. So even though I am controlling the board a little bit with my Han unit, for the most part, I believe I would be the beatdown in that. I don't know if Blue Anakin can be a beatdown. I guess you have some. I mean, you got Kanan, right? You got Kanan. You got a couple of lightsabers in there. I guess you could.
Yeah, I mean, like
You could do
can
it.
go faster, especially if you're like dumping all your resources into like space or something. Because typically Han, granted, the Falcon ruins a lot of that, but like, I agree. It's just like something maybe like a green Anakin would definitely be able to handle the beatdown a lot more than like a blue.
Mm-hmm.
Just because blue naturally, again, you're trying not to with the restores, you're trying to get more uses out of his ability to go a little bit later. But if I was the Anakin player, I would try to go as fast as I can against that Han.
All right, the next one we have is Pelp versus Vader. And, and don't tell me it depends on the Pelp, Alex, because we all already know that.
I think for this one here, I think Vader is probably going to be the beatdown player here. It kind of doesn't help when you're using Pop's ability to sacrifice a unit to
They deserve it. Okay, they're in my way.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when you're sacrificing your own unit to trigger his ability, you're kind of taking away from the offense temporarily. I mean, obviously Pop can ramp up pretty well, but until then, until Palp ends up finally reaching the level of resources where he can start deploying some of the bigger units on there, he's mainly control. He's not very aggressive there. You're just there to delay as much as possible until you can finally start playing some of the bigger stuff from your hand. In the meantime, Vader is go, go, go. I mean, you have just the variety of different lists that Vader has. He has a lot of low to the ground cost units that you can deploy easily, especially in Vader Green, that you can also ambush in when you play the Vader ground unit in there. You have a lot of options to deal damages to your opponent's base and opponent's characters with Vader's ability. So for this one, Vader probably fits the beatdown role a lot faster because you can play more aggressive with Vader with the Vader ability on there, regardless of the type of deck that you run with Vader. Palp has a harder time being aggressive because you're either going to play units to try to flood the board as much as you can and ignore his ability, or you have to ramp up in order for you to get better units. But in the meantime, you're just playing control at that time. So yeah.
I think you are correct. I think Pelp's always the control. I don't think there's ever. The only time you become the beatdown is if you're playing Pelp Red and you've hit that 8-9 resources and you could put out a couple of big units and just win the game in a turn. Then you become the beatdown at the very end of the game. But until then, you are never the beatdown.
Yeah.
Oh man, at one of the store showdowns I was playing, small tangent. I don't think they realized I was eight resources, and they had Bendu out. It was a mono blue Obi-Wan deck. They had Bendu. I ran something into it. They attached a Jedi lightsaber to Bendu. I flip Palp, steal Bendu, swing with Bendu, and then drop a Crate Dragon for 7 resources.
That's dirty.
Yeah. So you can be the beatdown if you're trying to.
But not until that late game. Not until you hit that 8 resources. So
Yeah, but you ramp really fast. Like, I did drop a Crate Dragon on a red Leia deck that was at 6 resources.
yeah, I bet they love that.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know what a Leia deck does against a Crate Dragon. Neither did they, because they scooped.
Yeah. All right. The last one we have is Kira versus Aiden. Alex, what do you feel is the beatdown in this one?
Well, I'm assuming it's probably like an ECL Kira versus like a mono blue Aiden.
Or yellow
What you
Aiden?
do.
Or green
I was
Aiden?
gonna say, you have seen yellow Aiden pop up a little bit at PQs, but I haven't really seen any other Kiras pop up. Usually it's just a choice between ECL and 30 health base.
Yeah.
So Aiden, I would assume, is the one controlling everything, because that's what Aiden's kind of built around, right? Is healing, which makes them prolongs the game, and then you reach the end game, and villain blue. You have some good end game pieces with Snoke and Avenger, and a lot of good control cards because you're blue. But like also Kira does that, and Kira has ramp. But also, like, you want to be the beatdown with Kira there, because the more you backpedal like an Aiden deck, the harder it is for them to control it. Because they usually can only take out 1 unit a turn until they hit the Super Laser Blast.
Yeah.
So that would be my assumption there.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our Academy training. Thank you all for joining us for our beatdown segment tonight. Up next, we're going to be talking about Jump to Lightspeed, pre-releases, all that fun stuff. We've got a sealed guide for you. And this is specifically going to focus more on sealed, not as much on draft. That's a whole different conversation. And maybe we'll do a draft discussion after we get a few weeks in.
We actually have drafts.
My store is planning on doing a draft on the Wednesday after pre-release if we have enough products. So a lot of the guys at my store want to buy those prestige carbonite crap packs or whatever. So like, we're just not going to have the card. So we're going to have to draft all the time. So, we also might do a sealed carbonite day, $150 buy-in, baby.
Right? Like, it was like that's obscene.
Come
You
on,
can get common cards, right?
there is common cards in them. Yeah,
I don't think so.
I think there is. I think there is.
I don't know about that, but
Anyway,
I mean,
so
if you mixed it with the regular packs, then I could see that working. But if it's just pure prestige, I mean, imagine having to go 4 rounds before somebody could drop off their first card. Like,
it's a high roller draft, baby.
who can claim the initiative faster?
Anyway, welcome to our analysis on sealed for Jump to Light. So this is our sealed discussion that we're gonna have. We usually do one of these like every term. Like I had thought about doing what should you do when you look at sealed, and I said, well, let's just have Alex rebuild the list again and call it a day, because every time like all it does is kind of go back to should we just go back to the list and look at it, right? And so Alex has graciously put together we will call it a so-called tier list, I guess. Like it's not like an exact tier list. We are saying these are predictability, what we would call probably good, okay, and bad. And then did you do any where you said this one is unplayable? We did that last time. We had a couple of cards that were unplayable.
Lowly unplayable when it was Jar Jar.
All right.
Sad, but no, I didn't do unplayable. Although if I were to choose that, it would probably be that green rare base, the one where you have to stack 10 more cards in there.
Well, all of them will be off suit.
Sealed. Yeah. So that would probably be the completely unplayable one.
Yeah. And so to kind of just before we get into this, just to go over, when you do a sealed tournament, essentially you're getting 6 packs. You get to build a deck out of it. You have the ability, because it's a casual event, to kind of change your deck around as you see fit between rounds. So this is kind of our discussion is going to be more focused on like building one deck for the event. We're not going to talk about switching your deck around. I did do that once. I actually built a Thrawn deck out of a sealed, and then decided it sucked so bad that like I just switched it to Krennic and did a little bit better. But because you're getting you're getting 6 packs of cards, essentially you're kind of being told, here you go, this is this is your set card pool. I believe the minimum is it 30 cards?
It's 30, yeah,
it's 30. Mm-hmm.
So you have to build a deck of 30 cards. Unless you're playing the green base, then you have to build a deck of 40 cards.
Or the red base is 25.
Yeah, or you can build a red base of 20. Actually, we'll have that discussion. We'll come back to that. We're gonna actually talk about that at the end. We will come back to that because I think that's actually crazy if you get that base. But anyway, Alex, why don't you begin? Why don't you tell us a little bit about? We'll start with the leaders and why you feel so like this is a pretty big list. We have here.
So again, these tiers are, hey, this is probably good. Hey, this is okay. Hey, this is probably bad. A lot of it leans more like, hey, this is probably bad because it requires a very specific list of deck building things, or hey, this is probably pretty good because it's generically good, right? So for leaders, I did mark which ones are rare, which ones aren't rare, so you can kind of base it around that. And then I believe you are getting the Boba Fett and Han Solo leaders as well, the showcase starter pack people.
Yep.
So for probably good, I have Asajj, because stats are fine, give grit to a unit, it's pretty generically decent. Rose Tico, because there are a ton of vehicles and space units in this set, a ton. So I'm sure you'll have one that's damaged that you can probably repair. Again, these are limited sealed things, not necessarily what we believe, in constructed formats where you have access to 4 times as many cards. So I have also in probably good, I've got Vader. His stats are really good. Boba Fett, also stats are good. Doing damage, indirect damage is really good. Von Reg is fast, and so is Poe Dameron. Poe Dameron's very versatile too, because you don't just shove them into one ship, you just pay an extra one. Which is usually fine in a limited format. You might usually have resources left over because you're not building an optimal deck. I have Rio Durant, because I think Space Sentinels are like the best thing you could probably have in your sealed decks. And then Kaz, mostly because he's actually just really fast. And his stats are really good for a 4-drop leader. For leaders that I think are okay, is Thrawn. Mostly because there's not actually a lot of super impactful when defeated ability units. A lot of them are really high in this set. I actually have Lando in okay, because Sentinels are really good, and games will probably tend to go a little bit longer in sealed than constructed. That's just kind of a given. I got Wedge, because he's okay, but there are actually a fair amount of pilots and a lot of crazy removal. Luke, and then Trench, Akbar, and Han Solo. Han Solo's a little bit iffy because you do have to like kind of mind what you're building, but actually like his stats and the ability to regenerate resources are just mostly what I'm basing that off of. And Akbar is okay because if your opponent starts dropping bombs, they probably don't have a lot. At least you can exhaust it. Like that's the only thing I could like. You can give them an X-wing token, but that means they can't swing with a really big ship, right?
Yeah.
Trench just might be kind of interesting. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's great.
I mean, he gets to go through his own deck, right? Like,
which is probably not what you want to do. I mean, it could be useful because card draw is great, but also you only have a 30 card deck, so you're more prone to running out.
You run the data conversion base with him. There you go. Then you add the extra 10 cards you don't care about.
But you can multiple deploy with him, and honestly, I think that's better. And that's why he's not the probably bad. In the probably bad, I have Piet, which sucks, but also, man, there's not a lot of great capital ships until you hit the late game, and at that point, like, you probably haven't done much. Holdo, honestly, just because, like, I think Holdo's better in sealed than constructed, but I don't think the +2/+2 to, like, a resistance unit is that impactful. And then I also have Captain Phasma, mostly because I don't think there's a particularly strong number of first order units. Oh, the stats are okay.
Yeah, I think Phasma only is good if you get all first order units. And then at that point, you can say, okay, I can play Phasma.
Yeah, so if you're choosing these leaders, you know, those are probably bad because they require very specific cards. Some of them are probably pretty good, and there actually seems to be a lot more like decent playable leaders in sealed than there was like in the past couple sets. Because like, I mean, like, what are you gonna do with an Afra, right, from Shadows in sealed, or you know, a new Gunray's fun, but he's not a great leader for sealed.
Now, the only question I actually have on that one is the Luke one. Like, I actually think Luke is better in sealed than you have him in the okay. And I only say that just because he is able to do that, give the damage out, and he has the ability to, you know, kind of like play either side very easily. Like,
I almost put Luke in probably good. My only concern was that his ability requires fighter and your ability to pull fighters in this set.
True.
Because there's a lot of good ones, but a lot of them are also like uncommon.
That's fair. That's probably fair. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. That was the only reason why I dropped him out of probably good. Because his stats are really good, and him not being able to be removed in like this set is pretty good too, right? So
yeah.
So yeah, that's the leaders.
Yeah, that's my only thing. I do agree with you actually with Trench. That is super interesting, like because you don't have to have cards to play, and then he's a 5/6, and he just comes out there and he gets a swing. So and then if you kill him, you put him back out there next turn. So if 3 costs 4 or 5, it seems a little too good to be true.
Yeah, I mean it's not you know the best thing ever, but it's not bad. Yeah, like I guess you can try to dump a higher cost garbage card from your hand to try doing something better, but to me it's mostly you can just keep deploying him and he's just a steady person.
Fair enough.
But I also did some minor stats on like the number of ground units, space units, and pilots that are in this set, which I think was very relevant to my like leaders. There's only 34 pure ground units in this set, which is wild. As opposed to 85 space units.
Yeah, holy crap.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's also 39 pilots, so you do have the flexibility of going onto ground or space, but this is very, very much a space heavy set, obviously. So that affected rankings for things that are like, this is a ground sentinel. And you're just like, cool, that's fine, but not nearly as impactful as it was in the previous sets. But things that are like, hey, this is a space sentinel, it's like, well, that's huge.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like I need to take Friday off again. I'm already super excited. Super excited. All right, well, let's go back up. Let's tackle the legendaries. Not that you're going to get any, but you may get some. Some people get more than others. Not Tanner, but other people that are not me.
Or me, man. Don't look at me.
All right, JJ. Why don't you read off for us, and then Alex will kind of
absolutely. So for the legendaries in the probably good category, we got the Starhawk, which is a great green space capital ship. There, Darth Vader, of course, always really great. The Devastator, another one of those big capital ships, along with the Profundity, that just are really great cards to just play on there.
Your bombs.
They're big bombs that really can turn the tide of the game for you. We also got the Han Solo ground unit there as well, the Radiant 7, and then Death Star plans. Those are definitely really fun. Death Star plans being that one that helps you reduce the cost of like future units. And then in the OK category, we got the Ghost, the new one that's been revealed. We got Turbo Laser Salvo, the Shadowcaster, Planetary Bombardment, Invincible, Home One capital ship, the new one that came out, and then the Stolen AT Hauler, which is definitely a lot of fun to kind of swap in between, back and forth. And then the bad category, we got the Annihilator, Hondo Anaka, Nebula Ignition, the Executor, and the Scramble Fighters, and Unity of Purpose for those. They're probably better in specified decks that you can really build out to make them work well. Probably not as good in draft as one-offs.
So. I'm very sad you put Hondo in the probably bad.
It's all double blue.
Yeah, it's a double blue. Yeah.
Which is like not something you generally want to do in a sealed environment.
I mean, if you had Death Star plans and then Hondo, maybe, but yeah.
Ooh. So it's weird because also the little asterisks are like, well, this is like okay, or like this is between, like Planetary Bombardment as an asterisk. This is between okay and probably good. And more like, well, if you have the cards, Planetary Bombardment's pretty good because you're just doing 6 damage, or if you have the capital ship, it's 12 indirect. Same with Home One. Like if they have a ton of space things, that is situationally very good. But there's also like I have the Starhawk and the Devastator. Those are great bombs in the probably good, but like the Executor and the Annihilator are probably bad because they are bombs, yes, but also they're like 11 cost. They're 11 cost with not like a crazy immediate impact on the board. Right? Like, the Annihilator's nice because you defeat it, but like, are you really going to blow up multiple copies of that card in that person's sealed deck? Probably not.
Vulture Droid Swarms, there you go, that's it.
Yeah, and the Executor, you get 3 TIE Fighters, which is cool. It's just they seem maybe just a little bit slow, hopefully. Maybe your game goes long enough that when you drop those, it's actually like a major problem, or you pulled like a God Piet deck. But I mean, I think they're just a little bit too slow. And also, like, the probably goods are really good. That Radiant 7 is really, really nasty in sealed. Like, you drop that, I don't know what I would do against that.
Cry.
It's just like, oh, cool. All my units just get -1, -0 for every damage on it. And then you dump 5 indirect damage on me. Great. We're not winning this game anymore. I mean, thankfully it only has like 6 health, but still.
All right, let's move on to rares. This one, we'll read this one off. The next one we'll just kind of hit highlights of, I think. I don't think when we hit uncommons and commons, I think it's just looking at maybe the highlights. So in the probably good, you have Iden Versio. I think Iden should be in a category of herself of if you're running blue villain and you get Iden, you just play it. Like, I don't think there's even a question. Like Iden, actually, why Iden's not a legendary versus some of these other legendaries we got is beyond right. Like I would take her over an Executor all day long. And her ship, no glory, only results. Removal is insanely good. That card, I think again, that card, if you're gonna play blue villain, just you get that card, you play it. Like that card is like that card is
Vanquish.
Yeah, it's just gonna end. It just ends almost any game unless they attach their leader pilot to it, right? You could just kill
get their when defeated ability too.
Yep.
Yeah, which is disgusting.
Which is really good with Thrawn. So if you get 3 of those, by the way, just play that in Thrawn, and then like, oh my gosh, like that's even better.
3 out of your 6 packs for no glory only results.
Yes, baby. Then you have Cassian, L337, Victor leader. That's an easy because you're gonna be able to swarm stuff. Luke Skywalker, which I think again, Luke is like if you're gonna play hero, green. Luke's just an auto include. Like Luke's that good.
Yep.
And honestly, a lot of it is because after he dies as an upgrade, he's now a ground unit.
Yep,
that's huge.
Exactly.
Recycling, like this is efficiency
for free too. That's the best part. Eject, that's an easy one.
Cool.
Yep. Light speed assault, Admiral or Allegiant General Pride, IG-88, Black 1, Tactical Heavy Bomber, Trench Run, Gideon. I think Gideon also is crazy. Like
the best ground unit you can drop.
Yeah, he's just like he comes in.
Sealed
for
environment is so nasty.
Everything costs the same amount. He's just I don't. Boba Fett, Cat and Mouse, Ahsoka. I've actually been playing a little bit more with Ahsoka lately. I have kind of been a little bit more fond of Ahsoka than I thought I would have been. Originally, I really like her because of her ability and what she can do. And then that Sedano, I don't know how to say that.
Attach it to your opponent's thing, and now it's perilous position. Vehicle. Yeah. And it takes up their pilot slot.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
The okay stuff, we have Tam, In the Heat of Battle, Neonub, Snap Wexley, Seasoned Fleet Admiral, IG 2000. I actually think that should be in the probably good, but we'll come back to that.
So it's great if you're doing a lot of indirect damage.
Yes.
If not, its stats are terrible for a 4 dropship. It's a 3/4 overwhelm. What are you overwhelming?
Yeah. I think that there is a lot of indirect damage that'll be happening, so I feel that it's a little bit more relevant, but you're right, maybe it won't be. I don't know. My goal is to build a complete indirect damage sealed deck just to piss everybody off.
Good luck. There's actually a lot less indirect damage cards than you'd expect at like lower rarity stuff.
Yeah. They hate that ship. Hot shot maneuver, jam communications. I don't know why you have that one in there. So it's a trap and there is no escape. So why do you have jam communications in there? Is it just because it's a control-ish card for 1?
Yeah, look at your opponent's hand and dump an event.
Okay. All right.
There's some really impactful events, but also like you get hand knowledge. Also, it costs 1.
Fair enough. In the probably Vlad is the Phantom 2. I almost actually think you just move that over even farther. Corporate Defense Shuttle, the Invisible Hand, General Draven, Relentless Fire Spray, Targeting Computer, and of course Ramparts. Because how are you going to increase that ship's? I don't know how you do it.
It can do something, unlike the Corporate Defense Shuttle, which literally says it can't attack. That's all it says.
True. Yeah.
And you're like, great. I have Kaz. Or if you don't have Kaz, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was looking for like any like impactful, like, hey, give this thing, exhaust this unit, do something else. Not really a thing. But it is a 3/5 for 2. So if you have Kaz and you're going blue, that ain't bad. And that's it.
We missed. I missed the Sabine's Masterpiece, Commandeer, and Jump to Light Speed. I think Sabine's Masterpiece, just like that's just a great ship. I don't care what
Sabine's Masterpiece, Jump to Light Speed, and Commandeer are just great rares as well.
Yeah.
So now we're moving into uncommons. And I think let's just pick, like, I don't know. I think the Hera like I agree with you with Hera. The wing leaders are really good. Leia's just, oh my gosh, like holy crap. Like I feel she's a little overpowered for her
Yeah, I
cost.
don't know what they were thinking with this, like, honestly, because every time I look at it, I'm just like, wow, that's really good for 3 resources. Like, she's a 3/4 restore 1, and then when played, you attack with a pilot unit or a unit with a pilot on it, and it gets +1 and restore 1. Like, that's a lot for a 3 costing unit.
Yeah, I don't know. I've actually been playing Leia a lot more, and like I think if I don't buy a lot of boxes, I will be just collecting Leia's because like I think that card is going to be a staple going forward.
Yeah.
I think you're right on that Von Riggs tie too. If you get that Von Riggs tie, man, like that's just nuts.
And special mention, like salvage would be really good. Just essentially play a vehicle out of your discard pile. It takes 1 damage. It's just really good to recycle things like that in a sealed environment. And also Frisk. Frisk is
Frisk is really good.
Like when you attach them for 2 to a vehicle, you just defeat and upgrade that cost 2 or less, which is like a bunch of cheap pilots.
Same with Biggs Darklighter, just so useful. It goes with so many different types of ships. So I mean, it's handy all the way around. Yep.
And a low key, like really good, like kind of sneaky card there is In Debt to Crimson Dawn.
Yeah.
It is a 2 cost upgrade that when the attached unit readies, you exhaust it unless the controller pays 2 extra resources. Huge in sealed, right? Just a massive tempo loss. Like, there's not a lot of, like, you want to play at least on curve in a sealed thing because you're not going crazy with your control or anything like that. So if you can force them to spend extra resources on keeping a good unit around, like if you put that on like one of their bombs, like what are they going to do?
Nothing. Oh, they're going to play Frisk and get rid of it, right?
Yeah, true.
That's about it. Yeah, because you can't overwrite pilots, can you? That's not like a thing. Because in Destiny, that was a thing. You could overwrite cards on things. Okay. I guess I probably should know this before Friday, but
hey, they updated the chart. I had to translate one of the cards from German, and it translated into Cold-Blooded Approach, what is actually called Heartless Tactics.
Oh.
That card's kind of nuts. It's a 2 cost yellow villainy event that is exhaust a unit and give it -2/-0 for this phase. Then, if it has 0 power and isn't a leader, you may return it to its owner's hand.
Oh, it's gross.
So you get an exhaust automatically, and they get it -2/-0 this phase. And then, if it just doesn't have any attack, you can just bounce it.
Yeah, so if you can't kill it or something like that.
Right. So I think that card is really sneaky, kind of good. Good little tactic there.
Really good against those phantoms. Yeah.
I also think the Mandalorian, you have that in like the good. I actually think that's almost better because it's not a double yellow when you play it as a pilot, right?
Right. But the fact is you have to play it as a pilot. And that's kind of why I moved it to okay.
All right. Yeah.
Because like if you don't have a ship, it literally doesn't do anything until you hit 7 resources. And he's a good ground unit, actually. But if you play him as an upgrade too, like he's a +3/+1, so even like the ship that you put him on has to have like a lot of health for him to even really be impactful.
Yeah, you know what he's super fun in? He's super fun in Kaz, babe.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm sure he's great in anything that's mono yellow.
Mm-hmm. I love him in Kaz.
He's probably really good in a Mandalorian deck as well.
Yeah.
Man, we should build a Mandalorian double yellow deck.
I have a showcase now.
Do you? You bought one?
Yeah, there was a local of mine having some money troubles, unfortunately, and he's just like, I have this Mandalorian showcase. And I'm like, how much? And he's just like 120. And I'm like, well, that's pretty significantly below the TCG player. So I guess, sure. So I have a Mandalorian card now, which is cool.
That's crazy. Well, I guess you're definitely building. All right, we're getting off track. Let's go back. I also think that Fireball is still, even for like it being, you have to take the damage for it. I still think it's really good.
Yes, I just you're just playing it and it blows up, which thematic, but like it's nice that it's just a 3-attack ambush unit, really, honestly, because it will die. Basically after you play it, so it's like it's fine, but not great. Yeah,
Right.
that's also shout out to the Phasma. I think I have her in like OK plus, just mostly because her stats are like actually really solid at a 5/6 for 5. But her ability doesn't really do too much unless you have other first order units.
Yeah, exactly.
But a 5/6 on ground for 5 when there's not a lot of ground to contest, it's pretty decent.
All right, and let's move on to commons as kind of the last category. We got it split up over a couple of pages.
Yeah, nothing like crazy. I did put repair in probably good, mostly because it can help if you have a ship that's damaged. Then you put a pilot on, and also I think this set is pretty fast, in terms of like, playing cards, do indirect damage, all that kind of stuff. So the repair might actually help.
Yeah,
It's like your basic like control cards.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I actually really do think that's. I think that card actually even might have some play in a specific decks in non-sealed environments, right? I don't know. You have the Onyx Brood. I agree with. That resupply carrier is absolutely hilarious because by the time you hit 6 resources, like it's just a win more condition, right?
Yes, but at least you can play more cards than your opponent now, and you have a body for it.
I suppose that dorsal turret though should be like in a tier of its own. Like I think that like if you
Dorsal's wild.
Like if you get dorsal turret,
Dorsal's
just play it. I play it off suit. Like that card is nuts.
Yes, Tanner, I see you have like an annihilator out. It'd be a shame if my like A-wing decided to just shoot it with a dorsal turret and it blows up.
Yeah, which makes no thematic sense, but hey.
Or like
I'm pretty sure I saw an A-wing take out a Star Destroyer.
Yeah,
but not with the turret.
Y-wing. A 2-cost Y-wing doing a strafing run onto a crate dragon with a dorsal turret.
Yeah, I'll do you one better, JJ. The Republic Y-wing cost 1. And it's thematic with the dorsal turret.
Yes. Oh man, that's great.
Ooh, you can put R2D2 on it, and then it's even better. Like that. Oh, and because R2D2 lets you put another pilot on there, it's even better. It's like even more thematic than like we could put a crew on there. Oh my gosh, now we're talking X-wing again.
Yeah, I was about to say we're just talking about X-wing now. That's not a
like. But that's
no. The dorsal turret's wild. Like, why is that
common?
Yeah.
Like again, some of the legendaries. So they did. I will clarify a little bit. They did actually say on one of the streams, they said they can't make every like legendary like super bomb and like all these other cards not bomb. Like they have to give you something. But dorsal turret feels like it should be at minimum an uncommon. Like that card's nuts. Like that card is so good. I guess if you're running against somebody that's running Frisk, then maybe not as much. But outside of that, that card just like thank you. Mm-hmm.
Red actually has like a shocking amount of like really good like control cards.
Yep.
Which is weird, but like you got like System Shock, right? Just defeat a non-leader upgrade and then do 1 damage to that unit. That's not a red card. That's like a blue card.
Yeah.
And like shoot down, 3 damage to a space unit. If you blew it up, then do 2 damage to the base. Even better.
Yeah, like my preferred is going to be like Vader Red, I think, in this. Like that's kind of where I feel I would have super fun with. Even without the Vader legendary card. Just like forget about that. Just let me run a Vader red space deck with those in there.
And you got like piercing shot, which is a 3 damage, but you also blow up all the shields first. I don't think there's many things with shields that would be super relevant unless you're like a Star Viper. But like just it's pay 3 to do 3 and also take out a shield, I guess. Do 3 no matter what.
Yeah. I think in your OKs, I think that the K-Churn, I think that's a bomb card. I actually feel that card is really good in sealed.
You
Like
just
I would
need a fighter or a transport, which there's a fair
there's quite a
amount,
few in this set.
but I'm not sure how impactful those are going to be to pay 3 to re-ready them while they still have 6 power or less.
Yeah.
Because like you want it with a pilot. It's good if you have something like
What's
Dengar
that?
pilot. Because Dengar pilot, he doesn't give a lot of he's because +1 attack, but he does like indirect damage, right? He's got +1, +2, but he deals 2 indirect or 3 if it's an underworld unit. So that's really good, like K-turn with a Dengar thing. I'm just worried about the 6 power or less, honestly.
I suppose. I still think it's really good. I would definitely be playing
I'll give you
that.
OK plus.
All right. I like how you still have the Sky Cloud car in here too. Like that's a ground unit, baby. That like there's only so many
Yep.
ground units. So
for some reason, like the cloud car is a ground unit, but it's a 3/3 for 3, which is not the best. But at least it bounces when it dies.
The other one I'm trying to think of. So I agree with most of these. Oh, twin laser turret is hilarious. You have it in bad because that card in X-Wing was stupid.
Yes. It might be slightly biased there because it did ruin X-Wing, but I just it's in bad plus. Like I like the +2/+2 for 2, but the hit 2 units for 1 damage is triggering, I think.
I mean, Palp will love that, right?
Well, I mean, like
Mm-mm.
this is sealed, JJ. That's the problem.
Yeah. and
Oh,
Sealed
yeah,
has
yeah.
it.
Okay,
you're
yeah.
not
Good
gonna
point.
get
Good point,
those.
good point. Yeah. You're right.
So it's like it's fine. It's just wild to me that this game now has a K-wing and also a TLT.
Yep. And you could put the TLT on the K-Wing if you want to go for ultimate middle fingers.
Also, it is worth noting that I do have a neutral card in probably good, and that is the 5/5 or the 4/4 for 5 Space Sentinel, the Corellian freighter that was in the first set.
Oh,
4/4
yeah, that
for
card's
5s.
nuts in this set.
You need Space Sentinels.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely need
for
Space
sure.
Sentinels. It's
Yeah.
not a very efficient card. 4/4 for 5 with Sentinel, but it is something that I would heavily consider putting in your deck. Because again, what 85 space units.
Yeah. So now you have these unverified. What is the idea behind this? Is these just cards you don't know anything about?
These are cards that they showed off on the stream, but they put them in like the little acrylic holder that covered up their rarity. So I don't know what rarity these cards are. So I couldn't really evaluate like crazy on these, but I tried to do what I could. You know, it's close the shield gate because just preventing all the damage done to your deck space seems really good.
Mhm.
And then there's like a green villain pilot that's essentially traitorous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Pantoran Starship Thief with a nice
Yeah.
little hawk
Mhm.
in the background there. So that's really cool. And I am slightly biased towards the Kimagilas, but it's not a bad card. Indirect damage is really nice.
There's no bullseye, though.
Expensive.
There's
So-
no bullseye.
I did have a question regarding the Pantoran Thief, right? Like,
Yeah.
what if you did it on a mercenary gunship? Can you still buy your ship back with the Pantoran pilot on it?
Yep.
Well, that's not in sealed,
That'd be
but
great.
if it was in
I know, I'm
sealed-
just saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you control that unit, and then they take control of the unit. Like it just goes
That's
back and
great.
forth. Don't do that. Because you have to pay 5 to take control of their mercenary gunship instead of just paying 4 to do it.
And then they're going to take it back for 4. You're going to
Right.
cry, and you're going to cry a little bit.
Yeah, so this is just like kind of the stuff that I couldn't see the rarity on. Nothing crazy. It's nice that like Villainy just straight up has like a rogue class Space Sentinel. That's cool. It's a 4/3 for 4, which is
Yep.
great, but it's a Space Sentinel. So that's
right,
what I tried to do.
The last piece is the bases. We haven't talked about bases, so let's cover bases real quick, and then we'll get out of here. But like the bases, like I don't know, like you have Colossus, which gives you extra 5 health, but 1 less card.
I did put those in order. I thought would be better. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Then you have the Thermal Oscillator, Nabat Village, Lake County, and then Data Vault. And like I agree with you, Data Vault just sounds awful in
sealed. Build a 40 card sealed deck for 3 extra health or whatever.
Can you imagine if you get 2 of those, right? Like if you just get 2 of those in your packs, you're just gonna cry. Like you're just gonna be like, I got no other rares.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get up and leave. But yeah, I think Colossus, because it tends to be a little bit slower. Sealed, the 5 extra health might mean something. Just drawing, 1 less card. The Thermal Oscillator, I think it's really good for consistency. Obviously, right? Paying 5 less cards in your deck, 25 card deck, and sealed can be real lean and mean. And I was debating between which one would be better. But like if honestly, I think just because blue has a little bit more control cards, so they're more likely to go to a later game and get like the full use out of their 35 health base. Like there's the red can aggro, but I don't know in a sealed thing if it's great. And I think like Lake Country is just like you don't want to gimp yourself in a sealed thing. Like you're only paying 2 aspects, right? Your villainy or your hero aspect plus 1 color is pretty rough for 4 extra health.
Yeah, you don't want any of that. And nobody wants Data Vault, so.
Right, and so by default, Nabat Village is right there, square in the middle, where, statistically, if you're looking for a particular 2-card combo, it is better, but that's about it. Really, I wouldn't consider playing anything that wasn't Colossus and Thermal Oscillator if you're going to try to gun for a rare base. Those are probably the only 2 I'd run.
And that Thermal Oscillator, I think, is dependent on how many really good cards you get. Like, did you get 30% of your deck is bombs? Then, okay, yes, let's play that, Yeah. Did you get 2 Avengers?
Really
Are you running Piat and you have 2 Avengers and you just want to be able to pull them? Then, okay, run that. Other than that, don't run it.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
That's my guide, I guess, for what I'm gonna try to evaluate sealed cards and whatnot. And again, I could be totally wrong. I don't think I'm far off on.
We're not wrong. Come on, we're Planning Phase Syndicate, man. We're like almost always on top of this shit. I mean, we both
never have we said a false statement in our life.
Never. Well, I mean, we've topped at PQs. We've won store champs. Come on, man. We're golden. We're good with your guy.
Yeah,
all right.
Especially when one-offs have spread throughout the community.
Oh, okay, stop it. Stop it. You're fired. You're fired. We're not playing Twin Sons though we will do a Twin Sons episode. I actually think that Twin Sons is going to become more popular now than before, and we will put some effort into a Twin Sons episode. Not as fancy as that one podcast that has like all the dramatic lighting and everything. I'm not getting that fancy, but we will do a Twin Sons episode, and actually we'll probably have that Too Many Hans podcast back on when we do it, because both of them, I talked to them and they're very excited about Twin Sons.
Yeah,
they are pushing me to start a Twin Sons once a month at our locals. And like I have some ideas for like pre-building Twin Sons decks ahead of time. So I'm kind of excited about Twin Sons too. I'll be more excited when they give me like a semi-competitive format for Twin Sons, where I can win prizes by going to events for it. But we'll see. So, I don't know about you guys. I'm excited actually for this set a little bit more than I originally thought I was going to be. Like, I talk a big game and say, yeah, I'm really excited because I always want everybody to be excited. But I'm actually a lot more excited
Yeah.
this set for some, especially for the sealed stuff. Last set, the sealed was really good. Like, it was a lot of fun when I played it, especially at the beginning. And I think this set just has a few more things in it that are going to be so good. And like, the best part is we're going to get it now, and then we don't have to worry about like playing sealed for this one after a while, because like we're going to get some other cool sets, and like this set's going to be around for 2 years. So I'm very actually excited to collect this set specifically for the pure fact that this will probably be one of the first sets that I could get the full amount of stuff I want, and it'll hold its value longer.
Yeah.
For it.
A lot of the cards are real pretty.
They are, yeah, I know. So, real quick before we leave, is there places? How many pre-releases you got on tap for next weekend, Alex?
Well, I'm definitely going to Excel on Friday. I have to see which places are doing it on Saturday and Sunday, because it doesn't really seem like there's too many by us that are doing a Saturday or Sunday, which is wild.
Are you gonna come out and play with us? Then? Are you gonna come over here? I got a futon in my basement. My wife wouldn't be super happy, but I have a futon in my basement. You could sleep on it. We can podcast together.
Oh, great.
Mine's on my personal one's on Friday. So
well, that doesn't help me.
I know.
For Saturday or Sunday.
I have
the one I'm running is on Monday, and RIW's is on Tuesday. So we're gonna do that. I just like I'm looking out for. So many people are doing it on like a Friday. And I'm like, great, makes sense, but sucks.
Well, we have the two we have on Saturday that I know of specifically is Wolf Gaming in Hudsonville, which is literally down the road from me. And I know they'll be doing theirs Saturday. And then there's another one called Legends on Saturday that they will be doing theirs Saturday night. But that one, if you want to go to it, I have to know tomorrow. Because they pretty much have like, I think they had 5 spots last I checked.
Jeez.
So yeah, that's the second place that a lot of people in my area go to. And then Sunday they have House Rules, which is downtown at a bar, basically. Like it's you could get food and drinks there. It's very laid back, and like that's probably the one I'm going to go to on Sunday. I don't know. I haven't decided how much money I want to spend this weekend. But essentially that's kind of where we were looking to go for all the stuff. But I know Saturday, if you want to come out for the Hudsonville one, I mean it's right by my house too, so it's 10 minutes closer than coming to Zealand. So. But you could come out. It's at 2:00, and then they have a second one at 6:00 at the other store. So I don't know. I'm at minimum attending 2 this weekend and possibly 3. So JJ, how many do you got on the docket?
There's 6 in my area from Friday all the way through Sunday. Probably trying to do at least one. It just depends. I got a few things coming up here this weekend, but I definitely want to hit at least one pre-release this weekend, probably Friday night. So hopefully I do well and get some few extra packs, because man, I'm really looking to collect this set. Like, it is so pretty, so good.
Well, all right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Next week will probably be a lighter week. It'll just be us discussing our pre-releases. I won't have any heavy-handed content, I guess, or heavier content for next week. It's just going to be discussing it. We'll probably talk a little bit about some of the cards that we're the most excited for this set, which ones we feel are going to be like top tier you should collect, which ones you could probably ignore. And then we'll start. I'll tell you what. There you go. Like, Alex, now that there's a full set list out, you and JJ each owe me a new list. This next week. There you go. We'll cover new lists, baby. You better start now. We're gonna play some new lists, so it'll be fun. With that being said, thank you. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the flippity flop.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for listening.